Hours. Now we sit down with Member of Parliament Dr. Toby Alpindi for his take on the valedictory address that took place this afternoon. Greetings, Doctor, and thank you so much for making time for us.
Good afternoon.
What a journey it has been, and it's almost the end of the 7th session of Parliament.
It has been a very dynamic 5 years, history-making, life-changing, but also years that tested our democracy, tested us as a people, and the resolve of the strength, really, of the Namibian people as to who they are and what they stand for.
I was going to ask you to single out what stood out for you during your tenure, but I suppose it's a very difficult thing to do because so much has been happening and so much continues to happen. But you are singling out the resolve of the Namibian people.
Yep, definitely. That we've been tested economically, strategically, emotionally, especially, changing gears in the middle, losing some of the most iconic personalities within the discourse of the Namibian society, surviving despicable diseases of COVID and many, many other challenges. But the fact that we are still standing shows that the strength of the Namibian people can never be underestimated, and we still rise. And I think that's probably the greatness of this country, that while we cry, we always hope that better days lies ahead of us. And that is probably the greatest of our country. Looking at what I think coming into the National Assembly today, I mean, I saw it in the eyes of the president, a very emotional Nangolo Mbumba, but also a very fired up Nangolo Mbumba, who will lift you up just when you are down, who is walking out just as he walked in. Remember, he walked in just at on the eve of when President Hage Geingob passed, which devastated all of us as a nation and as leaders, and he kept us together. He kept the whole Namibian nation together, and he kept reassuring the international society that Namibia is still a republic, and our institutions that created this country, that founding President Numa stood for, and many other people fought so hard for, died, sacrificed their youth, will continue to perpetuate and actually be stronger than the sum of an individual. And when the president sadly passed away, Hage Geingob, it was those institutions that held us together. That is how he came in. And again, at the end, just barely 2 weeks ago, burying our founder, the leader of the Namibian revolution, Nangolo Mbumba, rise once again, keeping the country together, and coming in and saying, even though I'm at the end of my term, finishing up President Hage Geingob's term, the country and democracy will outlive all of us. That, yes, we are in the transition, and that President-elect Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah will continue to carry the baton of peace, stability, security, and transparency as we move towards the future.
Very well. Yeah. How much of that did you witness in the President's valedictory address to the 7th Parliament this afternoon?
He was very, very fired up. But you could also see that he was very, very emotional. And it is a very profound moment. I mean, with the President coming in, talking about our democracy, talking about the journey that he walked through so many years, going into exile himself as a young revolutionary in the 1960s, early 1960s, I think 65, and throughout the whole journey, because President Nangolo Mbumba is a trailblazing personality, but he's an ideologue. He's somebody who is entrenched in the strength of an administrative process, and he has always been called upon by systems and his leaders, his senior leaders, to answer to those calls. Remember that he came in after returning from exile. He came in and literally became the CEO of Walvis Bay to oversee the interest of our country.
And he reminded us
Yeah.
of that journey, playing such an important part to have Walvis Bay reunited with the rest of the country after the country had attained its independence, and walking us through what landed him in what culminated as the head of state.
Yeah.
Talk to us from your perspective about his contributions to the political landscape, particularly over the last 13 months.
It has been, the last 13 months was a consolidation of his humility, his steadfastness, because he's a very humble person, very quiet, very unifying, very friendly, but in those eyes, is a very, very thorough and solid leader. A person who could take very difficult assignments in the past. And I think that's consolidated him. I mean, if you go back into exile, when we lived in the camps, he was the one responsible for looking after all the children that were in exile in the SWAPO camps. He was the principal of the Namibian Education Center in KwaZulu, and then rising up to become the Deputy Secretary of Education, into the personal assistant to President Nyoma himself. That's why when he came here, President Nyoma had understood his strength, that he will become our man to oversee the transition in Walvis Bay. So when tragedy struck us, literally with the President Gengo sadly passing away, President Nangolo Mbumba's solidity has to come to the play. The message of unity, the message of keeping our democracy going, but also the message of being a very unselfish leader. Because remember, his vision and his mission, in keeping with those traditions, he has always maintained that I am finishing the term of President Gengo, and the country will go to election. He took the country through an election. He took the country through a very sad moment again when the President Nyoma passed away, and he reassured them that the legacy of Namibia, the legacy of freedom and independence, was always about building and consolidating our freedom, democracy, peace, and stability. It was never about an individual. And that solidity of Nangolo Mbumba as a really bulletproof, tested leader who was there at the beginning of time throughout history is what will remain, I think, as his legacy of a man who could persevere, who could internalize that strength, that human endeavor, who can trailblaze like an eagle and literally lift us up when we are all down.
Thank you.
And that, for me, is the greatest legacy ever.
You shared with us earlier that the president arrived both in an emotional state but also a fired-up state. What is your key takeaway from his message to the 7th Parliament this afternoon?
I think perpetuity, as he emotionally craft that journey, as he moves through the journey of his path as a politician, as a leader. Remember, he took us through that journey. And I think for me, it is the journey in his message that speaks to everybody, that it matters not where you are today. What matters is that better days lies ahead of us. I think that, for me, was a very, very strong reassurance that no matter while we breathe, we hope, and that I might be retiring today, but we have consolidated ourselves into a perpetual future, that our children, our children's children will continue to enjoy Namibia's freedom and independence. I think for me that was the strongest statement in his own word, as he reassures us that the incoming president will do just as good, if not even better, given the programs and strategies and the abilities that the next president brings to the table. In another historic moment. What a historic week we are living in. You know, we are living through a historic week. I mean, with Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah coming in, first for women. And again, another history in the making, because she has always made history herself, been a very tested leader, a long time in the SWAPO leadership throughout the exile years, leaving herself, going into exile at the age of 15, a life of unknown with no guarantee of return. No one knew they were going to return. Everybody just knew they were going to sacrifice themselves for fighting for the liberation of Namibia. And again, coming back, becoming the first Deputy Secretary General of SWAPO Party as the first woman to do that. And again, becoming the first woman.
A trailblazer in her own right.
Trailblazer in her own right. Becoming the first woman Vice President of SWAPO Party. First woman Vice President of the Republic of Namibia. Now, first woman of the Republic of Namibia. It is immense, and not only because she was a woman. By the way, when SWAPO vested those confidence in her, it's because she's a capable leader. But making history and coming in to consolidate our peace and stability once again, and I enjoy the fact that looking at her through her vision and missions, that she is a person who is very much entrenched into humility. Of course, ethical leadership, transparency is the hallmark of her entire leadership throughout all the years. But coming in as a very solid, very strong leader, but her history-making moment should also reassure us that women are actually equal partners in development and strategic leadership, as they should be, because for centuries we were told of all these misogynies of male domination, male society. It is now time for us to move on, that even a little girl child growing up from wherever they are growing up, they will be assured that if they really work hard and try so hard to be whoever they want to be, whether they want to be in the corporate world, they want to be in the political world, they can climb up to the highest office in the land. That is, for me, probably the greatest take. Of course, coming with that is great policies of SWAPO Party through our manifesto, policies of youth economic empowerment, policies of mineral beneficiations, policies of sport development, and so many other policies that she has really put on the table for us as the incoming parliament and incoming government should be fast on the wheel to actually implement. So
that brings me to my next question, as we're starting to wrap up our conversation this afternoon, Doctor. A lot is known about what will happen during the course of this week, but there are some unknowns still. As we get ready to welcome the new administration, what is your message to the new administration?
My message to the new administration, of course, I know that having known for so many years the incoming president, I know that on tomorrow we're having our last sitting and dissolvement of the 7th National Assembly. And then on the Thursday, the new 8th Assembly will be sworn in. And with that, coupled with that is, of course, Friday, the independence, the hallmark of our freedom and independence, democracy, and then her taking the oath. And she's supported by the SWAPO election manifesto, which she actually helped to craft. And coming in is first what is not on the table, and that which she will continue is, of course, consolidation of our peace and stability. Because without peace and stability, there can be no national development. And what is passionate to her is the fact that truly you cannot just continue to enjoy peace and stability while other people are probably not having many. Of course, we are saying it is good for Namibians who are succeeding to succeed, because we created a democracy and a country where people must succeed and do well.
But not at the expense of others, is what
but
you're saying?
It should not be, but it is good, but it should not be at the expense of others. But it should also not be that just because we are succeeding, it is bad. It's actually good for people to succeed, but we must also allow others to succeed too, no matter where they come from, no matter who they are. So we should ensure that everyone has got access to clean water. Everyone has access to proper medicine, proper education, and everyone is not discriminated against on the basis of where they came from, because that is not a hallmark of our democracy. It's not to have one man dominating another. It's actually to have equality in the true sense of the word, and everyone must have equal economic opportunity. I've always said that the one of the things that every great leader that has ever been around, like Sam Nujoma, Hage Geingob, Nangolo Mbumba, and now Triple N, Dr. Nanden Daitwa, is that they don't want us to maintain a system where we have different economic systems. You have others.
Do you believe that equal economic opportunities for everybody are attainable during our lifetime?
It is attainable, because what we need to do is not overcompensate for the tax and transfer programs. What we need to do is change the market in its institutional context, so that more people have more access to all markets in more ways,
Dr.
not just some.
Yeah. Is there anything that you believe that the 7th Parliament should have done differently, could have improved?
What the 7th Parliament, it is true that we should have probably been aggressive, but also you need to realize the 7th Parliament has been impeded in many ways by the COVID-19 when it hits, when people couldn't get together. But I feel that despite the burden of the challenges that we were facing, I think they came to the party. They were thorough. They were very professional. They were very inspiring in a way. But they were also very life-changing in the way that they are a bridge between. I think you have a new younger MPs going to come into the 8th Parliament. I feel that they've also set the pace for truly being the representative of the Namibian people, like aggressively representing those views and policies, because there was much more aggressive debate in the 7th Parliament, but meaningful debate. Of course, there were times when people were a little bit unruly, but I also feel that we should learn from. That it's really about the Namibian people, and we are stronger when we focus on issues that are affecting the Namibian people.
For a Namibian tuned in at the moment, saying, Dr. Opindi, I hear what you're saying, but I've lost all hope, not only in Parliament, but in this country. What would you say to them?
I feel that the SWAPO election manifesto is very solid, it's very aggressive, because you're already talking about making the health systems accessible to everyone. That has already been a policy decision that has been taken by the cabinet that's outgoing, but enshrined in the SWAPO election manifesto. Education, I think you are looking at things like beneficiations, because what we have truly is national development is not just a once-off. It's a process. It's a process that is going on as we keep going in the future. And the first part was consolidate peace, stability, democracy, lay down the strong foundation for stronger economic development, stable and sustainability. Now it's a question of making those industries work, including mineral beneficiation, because we can't just have our minerals being shipped out while our people are suffering. We need the minerals to be beneficiated here, so that we create more wealth, more employment opportunities, more business opportunities for our people. So we should, while we are hurting economically, we shouldn't lose hope. I believe that the intention and the humility and the true, that original sense of belonging and the downtroddenness of the incoming president has really good intention. And I believe that if we work following that vision of ethical leadership and transparency, effectiveness, we will be able to draw more people out of poverty and selflessness.
Thank you. Your final thoughts?
My final thought is that I'm really looking forward to a really good historical week. I feel that every Namibian must be proud of who we are. We've come a long way. While we've come a long way, it is not still long enough. The perpetual Republic of Namibia will continue to move into the future. It is for our country, and when we talk about the sovereign, it is us. The government, it is us. I've always said that when you elect us to come and represent you, we are the representative of the Namibian people. Don't just elect us and leave us. You must elect us, and then when you have elected us, come to Parliament and hold us accountable. Hold us accountable for what we are not doing. And that, for me, is probably the greatest catch, because sometimes you give us a little bit of space. Hold us accountable, because you are the sovereign. You are the bosses, literally.
Very well. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for those insights, and best of luck.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
That was Dr. Toby Alpindi, a member of the 7th Parliament, with his take on what they were able to accomplish. It was with his take on the accomplishments of President Nangolo Mbumba, who delivered his valedictory address to the 7th Parliament this afternoon. We'll continue in a bit with more engagements with MPs.
This is NBC One. It's ours.